This might be distracting, actually.
No, that's cool.
We'll just have it laying there.
Yeah.
You can cover it up.
No, all right. Well, we're friends, and when you become friends, you find things that you have in common and experiences that you've had in common, and then you can assume that many other people have probably had these experiences. Using these as little pieces for a movie that then we can expand on and make more spectacular and the autobiography that we would imagine for ourselves, but that we don't have. When we were young, we took the chance and took advantage of our opportunities as being young and naive, but also a little bit smart, and taking chances, taking more chances. I think that's what the movie's about.
I was infusing some of my own, not personal history, but maybe some kind of emotional biography, doing that in a contemporary context and thinking about my own experience of being a teenager, but obviously getting outside of that with a female protagonist.
Fancy a trip to Charm City?
I like talking about, like when Talia talks about this, with this question, and because she considers that when the movie begins in her head, kind of when she's deciding in that moment that she's making her movie of her life. And this is a classic trope. When we were making it, we were talking about Orpheus and Jean Cocteau reference of the mirror. But in America, everyone just thinks Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. So we didn't think about that. We're so pretentious. But that's the beginning of the movie.
I'm fun, no fear, lost in the evening mirror.
I think the locations were pretty important, for sure. Nick and I did a road trip where we actually went to a lot of the places where we ended up shooting. We did this road trip in 2018 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that changed the script a little bit because we decided on places that we liked especially, or places that we were a little less attached to. But the locations were directing where the script goes.
Not bad.
She wasn't going to be really consciously plotting out her trajectory, so it would just make sense that she'd kind of hopscotch relatively short distances. And at a certain point, even though it hadn't been pre-planned, I think the idea that, we're going to stick to kind of a very old part of America, the northeastern mid-Atlantic seaboard. And also, this was something that, in writing for Sean, I knew that we had shared affection for and interest in all of the places that we were dealing with.
Filmed in places mostly where I've lived, where I went to school, near where I grew up. New Hope, Pennsylvania, along the Delaware River, where I wish I could live, or I wish someday I would have a house. Occasionally I would give the camera to my friend Peter Buntain, who is also credited. He's a guy I work with often if we have to do two cameras, or if there's a B camera. Because we kind of come from the same documentary thinking of camera. We both worked for Maisels Films in New York, and so we were very adaptable to just not having shot lists. And I did not bring shot lists or any of that kind of stuff to my own film, because I don't like it when people ask me to bring them to other films. So the massacre scene on the film set when people are getting shot, that was storyboarded. But we storyboarded that because we were going to have special effects, and we were supposed to have real gun guys there, with real guns, which all changed. But we storyboarded to be very professional and prepared for that, for a lot more people that were asking for these kinds of things. But I really like to be on the set with the actors and watch them work and choreograph the camera around that. because of guys like this.
The 8mm man.
No, he did some 16. He's holding a 16mm reel right there. I mean, you know, it's our kind of. Well, I'm more comfortable shooting on film, because when you have video and you've got this frame, like, you know, like she's got there, where that's it. That's what the movie's going to look like. I mean, there's a few things you can do later. You make it more colorful or darker or brighter or more green, but that's kind of it. And I really like shooting on film and being surprised when I get the footage. It's one of the only things I really enjoy doing photography is when you get the results, and I'm not so technical, and I'm far from really understanding even my materials. That was the first take. They went with it, and the strange thing is we had 2 cameras rolling for that sequence, and we did it only one other time, and I don't like having 2 cameras usually, but I did it for that. And I don't know why, and they just went, and it was like a gift.
They're constantly kind of completing one another's sentences and sort of tripping over one another, you know, almost like, you know, Howard Hawks' 20th century sort of screwball dialogue, and to really time that out would have taken a sort of sophistication that maybe we didn't have, but luckily Jeremy and Io were just able to kind of get in sync and bring that to the table, and, you know, find their own timing, find their own cadence, and just do this, you know, beautiful double act.
Of that diversity of thought that we're trying to bring to this piece. It's not just our diversity, you know what I mean? Like, how do we sort of keep that period elocution but have an ease of vernacular, you know?
Because again, if we are not being as experimental as these established communities, these sort of intentional communities, if we aren't having that same freedom of experimentation, then we fail here with this film, you know?
If we are afraid to fail, we fail, you know?
That sounds really cool.
We have our locations, we have our people, we have the tools, and then we'll see what happens, you know, and weather. I mean, when you really have a limited shooting schedule, then the weather is going to, you know, interpret things for you, or you will work around it and make it lead you to different, not just the weather, but all the things, you know. Somebody's sick, somebody's in a bad mood, some chemistry between 2 actors is just not good. And instead of me being tyrannical and, you know, trying to beat some vision I have into it, I think letting it find its own way is pretty exciting.
Heard the big news?
Are you retarded? That was yesterday's headlines.
Jesus. Yeah, the news about me having Down syndrome's off the front page today. It's like barely a paragraph.
Oh. Is anyone gonna help that guy?
You mean like the way that you're helping him?
I would, but I'm already in costume.
Yeah, me too.
I am comfortable with improvisation with really, you know, brilliant people acting, coming up with this stuff. But I was a little insecure maybe with some situations. I didn't know if we were getting the information we needed, and the script maybe wasn't working. So it was really important to have Nick there, where he could, you know. And I've done this before as a cinematographer. I've been on a set where an actor, director are both there, and they can go into a closet for 5 minutes, figure something out, and then everything's great, you know. So yeah, it was really lucky that we have a friendship like that, where he was happy to be there. And yeah, he was certainly not looking at the script and like watching the monitor, making sure everything was exact, you know, because we're not like that. Yeah. Well, we have a movie that we want to make, but he has to write it. So while we're waiting to write that, I want to make something else. I don't know. We just showed the movie in LA, and you know, there's lots of people that are excited, and we're talking, and we'll see what happens, and maybe I'm going to end up directing television, which would be funny because I don't even know what television is anymore. I don't know what it looks like or how it moves or anything. But I'm kind of excited to just do anything right now. And yeah, but there's a couple of scripts that friends have written that I want to make. Yeah, I have some personal projects probably down the line, but I'm not taking myself seriously yet enough to do those.
Yeah, we'll be back.